Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more news from the Golden State Warriors, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. The Warriors are deciding what direction they will take at the trade deadline. Some players have been disappointing, such as Brandin Podziemski, and another young player has been undervalued by coach Steve Kerr, such as Jonathan Kuminga. These two young men will be involved in commercial negotiations so that the Warriors can acquire a star. The Warriors are still looking to improve their roster. Jimmy Butler has been on the Golden State Warriors' radar, and it seems to be a mutual interest between the two parties. The Warriors have already upgraded their roster by trading for Dennis Schroeder, and there's a chance that they could be looking to make some more changes that don't involve Butler, according to Mark Stein. After swiftly addressing its need for a secondary scorer behind Stephen Curry with Sunday's acquisition of Dennis Schroeder, Golden State is still evaluating its own center rotation, sources say. The Warriors have famously filled minutes with defensive savant Draymond Green at the 5 spot, Stein wrote. And while Steve Kerr is known to hold great affinity for Kevin Looney, Golden State's veteran center has garnered plenty of early interest from around the league, sources say, as the Warriors consider whether or not to add another piece to a rotation that also features standout sophomore Tracy Jackson-Davis. Before ceding the role back to Looney recently, Jackson-Davis started 18 games this season, Stein continued. Looney has been a big part of the Warriors' success through the past few seasons, but Jackson-Davis has shown some flashes while on the court. Green has also started playing more minutes at center, and if they're fine with that rotation, Looney could be the odd man out. On the other hand, the Warriors could be looking to upgrade their center position with someone who could stretch the floor like Nikola Vucevic, who has also been in trade rumors. Will the Warriors make more moves to upgrade roster? It's evident that the Warriors are trying to get better, and acquiring Dennis Schroeder was a big move in itself. The guard can either start alongside Stephen Curry, or he can come off the bench and play a sixth-man role. It doesn't seem like they're done adding to their roster either, as they seem to still be one of the top teams interested in Jimmy Butler. There will have to be a lot of moving parts to get that deal done, and it may require adding Andrew Wiggins to the deal to match the money. Jonathan Kuminga could also be the centerpiece of the deal, especially since the Warriors did not extend him before the season started. If the Warriors are serious about adding a third star and they believe that Butler is the guy, they're going to be aggressive and do whatever it takes to get a deal done. Steve Kerr has failed as a player development coach. Steve Kerr might be a genius in terms of coaching X's and O's. When he took over from Mark Jackson as Warriors head coach in 2014, he asked Stephen Curry to play off the ball after the sharpshooter served as a traditional pick-and-roll point guard in his early years in the league. Kerr also made bold moves, such as utilizing Draymond Green as a small-ball 5 and Andre Iguodala as a de facto point guard. Kerr's read-and-react playbook enabled Curry and Klay Thompson to take their games to a new level, leading to a dynastic run. While Kerr has been excellent at putting veteran players in perfect roles, he has failed miserably at developing or identifying young talents. For one, he implored the Warriors to draft James Wiseman with the number 2 pick in 2020 over LaMelo Ball, Tyrese Halliburton and Tyrese Maxey. We all know how that turned out. Kerr also pushed the Warriors to draft Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody in 2021, passing up on Franz Wagner, Alperen Sengun and Trey Murphy III. Granted, Kerr isn't solely to blame for those draft mishaps, the front office could have done better. But the least he can do is stand by the players he vouched for and allow them to flourish. Fumbling Podziemski, Moody, Kuminga. Kerr has done the opposite. He has hesitated to unleash Kuminga and Moody, putting both wings in unfavorable positions for nearly 4 years. Neither player has found a consistent role on this team. Moody, for example, averaged 20 minutes in 2 games in the first week of December and has since combined for 22 minutes over the last 3 games. There were similar stretches in November when he barely saw the floor. Kuminga's situation is more complicated. The Congolese forward went from the number 2 option behind Curry to the 7th man to a starter again. Oh, and he's back to a bench role. Kerr has refused to give the 22-year-old a longer leash and grow from his mistakes. Much like Kuminga and Moody, Brandin Podziemski has also seen his playing time and stats regress from last season. The southpaw has quickly gone from a future franchise cornerstone to trade bait. It doesn't help that Kerr routinely calls out his younger players, possibly dampening their confidence. This season, he has publicly blasted Podziemski twice and ripped Kuminga last week for his poor shot selection. At some point, it's time to admit that Kerr is not adept at coaching or developing young players. The Warriors are better served shipping out all the youngsters in favor of a veteran like Jimmy Butler. Warriors star Jonathan Kuminga reacts to Steve Kerr's harsh criticism. Golden State Warriors star Jonathan Kuminga has dealt with a very volatile season. He's dealt with trade rumors, being in the starting lineup and getting sent to the bench numerous times, and now being recently called out by Steve Kerr in a press conference. Kuminga is only 22 years old and hasn't even been named an All-Star before, but the expectations from him seem to be that of an NBA superstar. I'm not going to stop coaching him. The last 2 games, his field goal attempts, his decision-making has been poor. That needs to improve, Kerr said about Kuminga. On Monday night, Kuminga produced off of the bench against the Pacers, putting up 26 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists on 9-16 shooting from the field. Regardless of the pressure, the young star isn't getting fazed. Sometimes I start, sometimes I don't start, Kuminga said to ESPN. Don't really affect me. At this point in my career, I can't put my head down and not go out there and play hard or try to be effective. I just go out there and do my job because I can't even worry about things like that. The more you worry about things like that, the more you fail. After the game, Warriors head coach Steve Kerr admitted that he was happy with Kuminga's play despite the loss. Ever since the Warriors started the season with a 12-3 record, everything has been very downhill. The team couldn't seem to find any answers and found themselves going 3-10 in the process. One could imagine Kuminga's name is going to get mentioned even more in trade rumors as he tries to brush it off. Jonathan Kuminga stood on business. Since contract negotiations fell through, Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors have been miles apart from an agreement. In addition to the contractual issues, Steve Kerr held Kuminga accountable for his poor play before they played the Indiana Pacers on Monday. Kuminga responded to the criticism through his performance versus the Pacers. Kuminga and Kerr don't have the best work relationship. To understand the need for Kerr's comments, as many Warriors fans perceived them as harsh. You must recall last season when Kuminga allegedly leaked information to reporters, complaining about his placement in the team's rotation. Instead of talking to reporters behind the scenes, Kerr called out the young wing during media availability for his subpar performances over the last few games. I'm not going to stop coaching him, Kerr said. The last 2 games, his field goal attempts, and his decision-making has been poor. That needs to improve. Kuminga either took Kerr's critiques to heart or put on his figurative business suit and kept professional in his role of the off-the-bench scoring threat, valiantly attempting to lead the Warriors to a victory over the Pacers at the Chase Center. Related, how did Warriors upset fans? In 29 minutes, the Warriors wing led the Warriors in scoring, as he notched a game-high 26 points on an efficient shooting line of 9 for 16 from the field and 2 for 3 mark from distance. Although Kuminga could have easily sulked, possibly turning on autopilot during his minutes as the starters struggled, specifically Draymond Green and Stephen Curry, he turned on the Jets to push the Warriors with 10 points in the final period. Perhaps learning his lesson from allegedly going behind his coach's back last season, Kuminga stood on business by responding to Kerr with his play rather than providing reporters with juicy bits for a viral article.